안녕하세요.
Hello, I am Professor Changju Park. This paper compares the effectiveness of Ostem's bovine-derived xenograft, A-Oss, with the conventional Bio-Oss. You don't want to miss it. This study features a full lineup of Ostem's implants and GBR products, including soy implant, 1-2-2 taper kit, 1 guide kit, A-Oss, Sure-Oss, Oss Builder, Oss Guide, and Oss Mem Hard. A total of 16 patients were divided into 2 groups. 8 people in the experimental A-Oss group and another 8 people in the control Bio-Oss group. Bone volume and bone quality were measured and compared at different time points. This experiment's targeted dehiscence defects, where the upper part of the implant is exposed after placement. The exposed implant surface was covered with allogenic bone, followed by another layer of bovine-derived xenograft for volume maintenance. And then it was covered with a double layer of preformed ultrafine titanium mesh, Oss Builder, and a collagen membrane on top. This is a sandwich technique many of you are familiar with. Bone volume was measured before surgery, immediately after surgery, right after the re-entry surgery, about 8 months later, and then after the final prosthesis was placed, about a year later, respectively. For bone quality assessment, given that Oss Builder needs to be removed after all in the re-entry phase, we made an effort to quantify the result by measuring corticalization of the inferior regenerated bone. Let me tell you the results. In terms of bone volume and bone quality at each time point, there was no statistically significant difference between the experimental A-Oss group and the control Bio-Oss group. This means that A-Oss is just as effective as Bio-Oss. However, it is interesting to see that even though we used A-Oss and Bio-Oss, both of which are bovine-derived xenografts, with volume-maintaining effects, and even the hardest barrier membrane, titanium mesh Oss Builder, bone volume gradually decreased over time. That means that you need to use more graft material than you need in GBR procedure. As titanium mesh was used, many of you may be concerned about complications. Partial exposure was observed in 3 patients, accounting for 17%. But we were able to manage them through to the re-entry surgery. We didn't have to remove them early. However, I want you to remember that when exposure occurs, the inferior bone quality is slightly declined. Let me summarize. To address the issue of an implant dehiscence defect, allogenic bone, bovine-derived xenogenic bone with volume-maintaining effect, Oss Builder, and a collagen membrane were used with a sandwich technique. That seems to be an effective GBR approach for the treatment. Second, there was no statistically significant difference between A-Oss and Bio-Oss in bone quantity and quality measured during the re-entry surgery. Statistical analysis also showed no significant difference in bone volume and quality between A-Oss and Bio-Oss measured after the final prosthesis was placed. Now, you can confidently use Ostem's A-Oss. I look forward to sharing another interesting paper with you next time. Thank you.